So I have to be in the kitchen whilst my foods are cooking, like while the vegetables are boiling. And so whilst I'm doing this, then I'll make a video. Now, in relation to compassion and caring and those sort of things, it's like anything, people. We have to know what these words really mean. Because if we don't know what the words mean, then we're always going to be under an assumption, a presupposition that we know what those words mean and that we are actually being or doing whatever those words are said to be. So we have to look at the root of the word. We have to look at the etymology of words. We have to look at how dictionaries tell us what these words mean. And of course, there's quite a lot of variances depending on whatever dictionary you consult. But if we look at compassion first and foremost, we in the Western world, we use compassion a lot. Why? Because we've been indoctrinated into using that concept. In Islam, they don't use compassion, they use mercy, don't they? So they say, oh, Allah have mercy on us, and mercy be upon him, and then, when they greet each other, mercy be upon you, the mercy of Allah be upon you, all this sort of stuff. So it's mercy because Allah is a formidable, wrathful God, evidently. And so, unless he has mercy, well, he's just going to slaughter you. So you better mind your P's and Q's. Now, the God of the Old Testament, Judaism, very, very, very similar. Isn't it curious how during those times they considered that their gods were exceedingly wrathful and violent and all the rest of it. And somehow they've tried to create a pig's ear, a silk purse out of a pig's ear, and to proclaim that the God actually is benevolent and beautiful and loving and caring when they're threatening motherfuckers who have perpetrated goodness knows how much evil. Anyway, aside from that, what happens is, people, as far as religion's concerned with Judaic religion, there comes a time when people realise, hang on, these books of the Old Testament, they're full of wrathful evil, of a jealous God, and to be quite frank, I don't know how reasonably educated people are going to go forward with this, because they're going to read these books and they go, well, this God's a fucking evil dictator, he's a barbaric motherfucker. In actual fact, he's fucking evil through and through. So, well, what happens? Son of God. Look at how we've got son of Iron Man, son of Superman, son of fucking He-Man. There always has to be a sequel, doesn't there? So we have a sequel, people, which is the New Testament, where the Son of God comes. And if you are familiar with the Old and New Testament, then you will know that Jesus is very often saying, it is written that you should do this and you should do that, but I say this. Now, what he's always referring to when he says it is written is the Judaic Bible. He's not referring to Islam, he's not referring to Buddhism, he's not referring to Hinduism, he's not referring to anything else except that. Because that was his culture, that was what he was, a Jew, that's what he was brought up in, and all that sort of stuff. So when he says, and he didn't blaspheme, he didn't say in those books it says this, that and the other, he didn't go that far, because he was savvy. So he said it is written that this, that and the other, but I say this. So what he was saying is, it's written that it's an eye for an eye, but I say turn the other cheek. So what the Son of the God was doing through and through was completely the obverse in lots of occasions. Now, when there was an occasion of adultery in the Bible, and there was a stoning, because stoning was the penalty for many crimes. And we've all seen the Monty Python, you know, sketch. You know, if anybody said Jehovah, all the stones, you know. Hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But so stoning was the penalty that people would pay for certain crimes. Jesus said, "Let the person who has sinned not cast the first stone." And then everyone's like, and put the stones away, because there is no one that hasn't sinned. Now, when we look at this word sinned, people, sin in Latin, in French, and in Latin, you know, the language that Roman Catholics used, sin just means without. So when you look for a translation of what sin is, with scholars, they'll say, well, it's being without God. So all of those people who have sinned are the ones who are living their lives without the jurisdiction and governance of God, without following the Ten Commandments and praying to God every day and bowing down and begging for His forgiveness and all this sort of thing. So anyone who doesn't invite God into their lives, they are sinners, and because they are without the grace of God. And so, well, if you look at the world then, and if you go, well, okay, so if we're without the grace of God, then we're all sinners until we bow down and accept God into our lives and do all the requirements that are asked of us. But then you see Jesus comes along, and Jesus says, "Truly I say unto you, the kingdom of God is within you all." So hang on. In the Old Testament it says anyone who doesn't have God within them and do all that stuff, begging, praying, is sinful, because they are without God. But Jesus says the kingdom of God is within you all. You all have it. And then he goes on to say, look, for those of you that are looking for God in the sky, truly I say unto you, the birds will get there before you. For those of you who are looking for God, or the kingdom of heaven, in the oceans, truly I say unto you, the fishes will get there before you. Do you not know that ye are gods? Huh? Right, so isn't it a complete schism? It's a complete separation, polarities apart. You've got to beg, oh please God, and then Jesus goes, look, God's within you. Fuck that bollocks, like God up in the sky and all this shit. No, you are God. God is within you. It's just that you don't know how to find it. You don't know how to look for it, you see. All you people praying to idols, praying to rocks, praying to wooden images and effigies and all that sort of thing. You've got it all wrong. And then, in the book of Thomas, when the apostles are praying, Jesus walks by and starts laughing. And then Judas says to him, "Oh Master, why do you chastise us? Why do you belittle us? Why do you laugh at us when we are praying to our God?" And Jesus says to them, "You know not who God is," and just walks away. And so then Judas goes to him, "Oh Master, what are you talking about?" And then Jesus says, "Come here. He takes Judas aside and then tells him something which nobody ever knows, but it transformed Judas in a certain way. And it's very, very curious that it is written in the book of Thomas that Judas was the one person who was privy to great revelations from Jesus, and yet Judas was the one that then shocked Jesus in the New Testament, you know, for having his palm crossed with silver. And so what was it that Jesus told Judas? What was it that Judas knew? And did Judas consider that there was a certain blasphemy going on with what Jesus said about the fucking God everyone's like bowing down to? It doesn't exist. we are God, and all this fucking sort of stuff, you know. So anyway, that's in relation to sin, and let me speak about compassion now. So when people speak about compassion, the compassion of Christ, I don't ever remember reading anything where Jesus said you have to have compassion. So if any of you, people who have studied the Bible, you can send me a verse where he said this. But as far as I'm concerned, Jesus was a Gnostic, and whatever is said in the Bible is perverted and is manipulated and is falsified. It's most certainly not the word of God. It's the word of man. And Jesus' whole sayings were, you know, look, you can turn the other cheek and judge not. And he had two different teachings, people. One for the learned, supposedly the apostles or the Gnostics, and then another one for, you know, the masses. And he spoke to them in very, very simple illustrations, which was about all they could understand. But it is said that Jesus was an Essene, and so these Essenes were Gnostics. They were isolated small society in a certain region around these biblical regions, and they had very high principles, and apparently they weren't supposed to procreate, they weren't supposed to have children, because they believed that the world was created by the demiurge, an evil god, and so you don't want to bring people into it, and this and the other. So there's all this stuff going on. And Jesus, you know, said, don't throw pearls to swine, don't feed dogs good meat, let the dead bury the dead, and all sort of things. And so Jesus wasn't that compassionate when you look at things. He didn't have compassion for the stupid and for the ignorant and for the heathens, anything like that. He would say, oh, you know, truly I say unto you, you know, this, that and the other. And then if you cast your grain out on rough ground, and if you cast it out on fertile ground, all this stupid elementary stuff for the idiots. But the true teachings of Jesus were very Gnostic, and very deep and very profound. And they didn't pertain to any God in the sky, and he wasn't the son of the Father. He said to everybody, we're all sons of God. You know, inferring that, you know, God's the cosmos. We're seeds of the cosmos. And you can find, you know, the essence of God within you if you do your meditation, and if you don't do evil and things like that. And if we look at, say, like the benefits of compassion, we can say, okay, if I'm compassionate, then I have some sort of empathy, sympathy, some sort of knowing what you feel like when you're suffering. If I know what you feel like when you're suffering, then the chances are there's a higher probability that I won't want to inflict suffering upon you, because I know that what it feels like, because I've had suffering inflicted upon me. And I don't think it's a good idea, because maybe if I inflict suffering on you, then you'll inflict it on me, or one of your family or friends might inflict it on me. So it's not a good policy. So to have compassion about suffering is a good idea, but it's of no benefit to anybody, except it may stop us causing people harm. You see, that's where it stems from. In those old days, when everybody was causing everybody harm, look, have a little bit of compassion. If you fucking, you know, chop an arm off that guy with his sword because he's been shagging your missus, then you're going to cause him a lot of fucking problems. And, you know, he's not going to forget that lightly, and the chances are, you know, maybe 20, 30 years later, he's going to be hunting you down and he'll stick a sword in your neck. So you might just want to think quite a lot about a person's predicament and imagine yourself walking a mile in his shoes. Because if everybody did that, then we'd be much more considerate, wouldn't we? And we'd be much more visionary, and we wouldn't then be inflicting pain and suffering on people because of what they did. Because potentially we've done it. I've shagged someone's missus, so you shagged my missus. Oh goodness me, it's a merry-go-round, isn't it? But we can't go around killing each other, because that just won't fare well for us, will it? So we would try and have the compassion that, hang on, now I know what it's like to have my missus shagged by someone, and so really, do I want to shag someone else's missus and, you know, bring that upon somebody else, and then those feelings within them, they're going to want to try and kill me and all this? Is it worth it and all that? So compassion is useful from that vantage, people. But in modern days, compassion isn't of any value, as far as I'm concerned, because we no longer do that stuff. If someone shags our missus, then we're not going to go and kill them, are we? We're not going to take a sword, or we're not going to bludgeon them, or anything like this, are we? Chances are we're just going to get divorced, or, you know, something of that nature. So, if we forget about compassion, I think I've just got to drain these people. Yeah, I'm having broccoli, Brussels, mashed potatoes and carrots with lamb chops. Now, you've seen me cook that meal before, and lots of you have seen me eat it, so you don't need to see it again. Yeah, Brussels, wow, great. Put them over there, they're done. Carrots, they need longer. Turn them up a tooth. Potatoes, turn them up a tooth. Right, back to business. So, we need to look at the words and what they mean. And we need to look at how they are utilised in modern society. We can't just keep accepting things from bygone days, from what somebody said, and then think that you are compassionate and that's all you need to be. No. Compassion, you don't even need compassion in today's day and age, people. What you need is you need rational thinking, and you need to be able to address whether you are going to be assisting anyone or not. Because if you just consider that you're compassionate and oh, I feel for you, and you go around and see your friends, oh, it's so tragic, oh yes, oh really, oh yes, oh I hear you dear, yes, and all this sort of business, and then you walk away without washing up or washing the floor, making the bed, or cooking them something, or going to the shop, what fucking use is that? What fucking use is it? And some people may say, oh, well, I feel much better now, thank you. But by the time you've left, 10 minutes after, they've got the same old fucking suffering and anguish inside. So it amounted to nothing, people. Your silly compassion amounts to nothing. So don't even bother with it. Just be matter of fact and go around and see people and listen to them and go, okay, yeah, sounds like you're having a bit of a bad time. How can I help? Was there anything in particular that I can do? You know, you tell me, do you need help with this, do you need help with that, you know, do you need shopping, do you need cooking, do you need taking somewhere? How can I be of assistance to you? How can I be a carer for you? How can I utilise, make manifest my compassion into something of value? Well, you become a carer, and that's what the essence of caring is all about. And so if you care about somebody or something, then you take action to prevent that thing or person from experiencing something bad. Like if you care about your chickens, then you might want to put a substantial fence around them, stop foxes eating them, right? That's care, isn't it? And so it involves action. And so I say to you people, what action do you actually do? Your parents have gone in homes, you care about them, you're compassionate about all their ailments and this, that and the other. What does that mean? What does that mean to them? Does it alleviate any of their pain? Does your compassion alleviate any pain in anybody? No, it doesn't, does it? Your compassion is felt within you, if indeed it is felt at all, if it's not just an idea. But if your compassion You're compassionate because, like, oh my goodness, I know what it's like to have a stomach ulcer, or what it's like to have eczema, what it's like to have arthritis. I'm compassionate to you, so I'm feeling once again those things that I had. And is that any benefit to me? No, it's no benefit to me at all, is it? In actual fact, compassion is a detriment to me. So why would I want to be compassionate? If you've got depression, and I'm like compassionate for your depression, oh my God, let me see if I can, put myself in an empathetic place. Oh, I feel your depression, oh my God, he's fucking terrible. Fuck that shit, I don't want that shit. If everybody was compassionate, then everybody would be fucking down and out losers, wouldn't they? So there's no value to compassion, people. Passion will destroy you, and it won't benefit the second party. You see, so where does compassion in modern times become a utility? It isn't at all, is it? So forget about compassion. It's bollocks. So it's about caring, isn't it? Now then, let me just give you a little bit of history so you know where I'm coming from, people. When I was 4 years old, my mother, mother of four, she took her life and she left us. And so there was an elder brother, 2 years older than me, and then 2 younger sisters, one 2 years old and one 1 year old. And so the 2 sisters, they went into separate children's foster homes, so they were adopted by families, and they were reared up for many years within the family unit. Myself and my elder brother, we went into children's homes, orphanages basically, big buildings, loads of orphans and all that sort of stuff. Going to usually on-site schools, and sleeping in dormitories, and eating communal rooms and all that sort of thing, right? And I went to many of them. And so, because I went to many of them, then I moved around from school to school, school to school, school to school. And every time I was placed in a new school, I was behind. And the kids would ridicule me, laugh at me, and invariably, I would level the ground with a bit of fisticuffs. And so people would know not to start fucking with the new kid in town, right? So that happened every school I ever went to. I'd have to level the fucking playing field within the first couple of days. Otherwise, you know what kids are like, they're cruel, and it's like, oh, he's got girl shoes on, oh, he's got funny hair, oh, he can't do the math, this, that and the other. And all that stuff. No, I couldn't do any of that. I had to have special reading lessons, whilst my peers were reading thick books like this with small words, and the teacher would start the reading and then point to Timmy, Johnny, Sophie and fucking Sarah, and they'd all read half a page, and that's and there. I had no clue. I couldn't do that shit. So I had to go outside in the corridor and sit down with a temp teacher who gave me thin books like this with big words like that, and Peter and Jane books, and pirate books, Frederick with the red, Roderick the fucking Frederick with the blue, Roderick with the red, fucking Blackbeard and all that sort of stuff, right? And I'm like, fucking, this is cool, fucking better than being in there anyway. So by the time I left school early, because my old man had his own business and he offered me a job and it was good money. So I thought, well, I don't need an apprentice, I don't need no shit like that. I can go and work in my old man's business, and he was in the motor trade. So, because I'd already been working for my old man in the summer holidays and weekends, then I already had enough money to buy myself a brand new moped. I bought myself a brand new TY50, and then I bought a brand new DT50. And I used to ride that to school because I was one of the oldest in my year. I became 16 before the vast majority of the people. And so I was the first person in my whole school to ride in school on a moped, let alone a brand new one. And everyone was like, where the fucking hell did he get that from? It was really fucking cool. So anyway, I left school without any qualifications. And when I was 20, I got involved with, a lot of mischief, and I ended up going to prison. Got 3.5 years for a robbery. And so whilst I was in prison, I thought, well, I'm not going to be mopping floors. I'm not going to be sweeping up. I'm not going to do no stupid, dumbass shit. I'm going to go on the education facility. So I went on the education facility for almost the whole of my duration. And when I was on the education facility, I learned how to do numeracy. I learned how to spell. I learned a lot of things. I was on the education in one particular prison for 1 whole year. And so I came out of that prison with a certificate in math. I had a certificate in English and communications with distinctions all the way through. Then I had a certificate in business studies. I could cook because we had cooking lessons, we had filmmaking lessons. Wow, I'm telling you what, people, prisons in Britain, I don't know how they are now, but in the old days you had every fucking thing. You had all different sorts of things to better you, so you didn't do it again, to rehabilitate you. So I got released on my first parole date, along with my buddy who I went to prison with for this robbery, and we stole a lot of money, and we both got released at the first opportunity because we were model prisoners, because we was on the education, we never got in any trouble. If we did have any fights, there were only small little scuffs, and we never got found out. And so I had an education from prison. Then I started business and this and the other, and I was bright, I was smart. I could instantly lend myself to business acumen, and I ran, you know, many businesses, and I was successful. And I could do all the math, I could do all the fucking profit and loss sheets, and all the forecasts and everything. I'm a really fucking sharp guy. So I did all that without a formal education, with only 1 year of education, people, in prison. And so I very, very quickly, you know, got up to speed. And whilst I was in prison the first time, I read 75 books. I used to write down the titles of every single book I read, and I read lots of amazing fucking books, and they're brilliant. Whilst my mate was always smoking the weed and playing pool and having the crack with his mates, I was always in my cell reading. And we had the privilege of having our own cells, and it was a brand new prison, and we had a sink and a toilet, and we had our own desk, and you know, we would have our own clothes that we wore. If we wanted to keep those clothes, then we'd wash them ourselves, and so then we'd find something that fitted nice, like jeans and shirts and that, and then we'd wash them ourselves. So you had all your own stuff, and then you could close the fucking door whenever you wanted to and keep every fucker out, so it was fine. And it was a variety of prison which was modern, which was way out in the countryside. So when you looked out your window, you'd see green fields everywhere, you know. But the first prison I went into was a Victorian prison, a very, very old fucking castle video. And I was in that prison for 4 months before I got sentenced, and then I got allocated this other prison. And the first cell I was in, it was like an archway like this, out of brick, just painted in cream, and people been doing graffiti on it for years and years and years. And the window was small, about like that, with big thick bars that was right up there, so you couldn't see out. But if you did jump up there and hang up there and looked out, you just saw down into a cage of the maximum security. And you were banged up for 23 hours a day. You had 1 hour where you're walking around a little fucking with a 30-foot fucking wall all around you like that. And if you wanted to go out of your cell, you stitched mail bags. Can you imagine the old school? These stitched mail bags, right? These old fucking, you know, Hessian sacks that carry the mail around in. You just used to fucking stitch the bottom up of those, and you do that fucking all day just to earn a little bit of money so you could spend it on, you know, some tuck. And so anyway, that's my early days of prison. And then when I was running around the world and I was successful, owning my own business and this, that and the other, and then the implosion came, whereby I got shot in Africa in my bed, and things changed. And I write all about this in my book. And when I finally came back to the UK, I went into the dark night of the soul, a deep form of lethargy, whereby I just used to read for 12 hours a day for fucking years and years and years, people. In actual fact, I did it for like 14 fucking years, and I only finally came out in the 15th year recently, when I've had some emancipation. You know, in recent times in America, when I was in prison there, then it was the same thing. I every single fucking hour hour of every day, I was doing something to benefit myself. Reading, working out, doing yoga, and even when I was doing exercise, I would pick people who I could philosophize with, and I got people who, you know, love to philosophize and speak about all these weird and wonderful things. I've never wasted a single second. I haven't done that. Now, I'm getting to the point here, people, whereby many people that don't have this drive, and this is the thing, people, if you don't have the drive to be able to read for 12 hours a fucking day, to meditate for 5 hours a day, to go to the gym every single day, to really have this level of discipline, then, you know, it's like, look around you, all the famous people, they've got drive. They just get up and they fucking go and do it, and they're relentless, they never stop. But if you don't have that, if you can't even read a fucking book, or if you can't meditate, you know, for more than fucking 2 minutes before, oh, I can't do it, then you're never going to be anything, are you? It's horses for courses. And so, you know, I started out and it looked like, well, you know, I'd probably be on drugs, on a life of crime. But no, I decided that, you know, I'm not stupid. I fucking can learn shit. And just, I read and read and read and read. I'm self-educated. And now I'll say to myself, you know, I'm pretty fucking shrewd. I'm pretty smart. And, you know, running my own successful businesses and all the rest of it. There's nothing that I was ever presented with that I couldn't do and need to go running for somebody else for, you know? So I'm telling you about my childhood. I'm telling you about my prison excursions. Because it may be possible for you if you applied yourself to do some things. You know, Jordan Peterson, being a clinical psychologist, had thousands of clients over a 25-year period, and he'd met the lowest of the low. And so when he wrote his book, 12 Rules of Life, he used to say to people, when he was doing his consulting with his therapy and everything, you know, and people were down and out, and the druggies and the wasters and this, that and the other, and he would say, look, I'm going to set you a task this week, and this task is to tidy up your sock drawer. That's all. Tidy up your sock drawer. And Peterson gives interviews about this, and he said, I would tell them just to start, you can't get lower than tidying up your sock drawer, and then making your bed. Tidy up your sock drawer, make your fucking bed, and then you might advance to putting the hoover around the fucking room, and a duster, fucking hell, God permitting. What sort of people are these? What are they going to do in their lives? Fucking nothing. I was always meticulous about making my bed, about folding my clothes, about doing all my ablutions perfectly, cleaning my teeth, my nails, you know, every fucking thing. I've always had the greatest attention to detail. So that's a genetic thing, mostly. It's a gift I've had. But also, you know, it was something which was really instilled in us as kids, because I grew up in pretty well a military camp. My household was like a military camp. I have 11 brothers and sisters. We had a big house, a lot of fucking noise, a lot of fucking chaos, potentially, but it was run like an army camp. And everybody knew exactly what they were supposed to do. And everybody had to muck in, and everybody had to present themselves fully dressed and washed and fucking clean teeth before they went to the breakfast table in the morning. And we all had our jobs. I used to have to clean fucking 7 kids' pairs of shoes, all younger than me, before I could even fucking leave the house to go to school myself. This was in the old days, people, with boot polish and brushes. I used to be outside in all fucking weathers, rain and shine, frost and fucking everything. I'd be polishing all these fucking boots, right? And then when I'd done them, all these shoes, I'd have them all lined up on the wall like that, and the stepmom would come out and she'd inspect them. And she'd pick them up, and if she found one little fucking scuff, one little bit of leather, which wasn't polished with fresh fucking boot wax, right, she'd say, do them all again. And don't let me fucking find any errors in the second batch, right? And so that was, you couldn't just do that bit, you couldn't just go, oh, that bit, no, you had to do every fucking one again. And she'd be watching you out the fucking kitchen window, right? And then I used to have to, for my pocket money, I used to have to hoover and dust the hallway, the stairway, and the hallway and the landing at the top of the house. And then when I'd done that, and I'd go and say to stepmother, I've done it, because everything would be inspected. Then the stepmother would come and she'd think like of a new place where she'd try and catch me out, and she'd look up into the corner of the picture rails. You know, an old house, you'd have picture rails, and she'd fucking stand on something and she'd put a finger right in the fucking corner, people, you hearing me? And if she found any fucking dust on that, do the fucker again. You people have got no fucking idea. You people have got no idea. And so we'd all have to make sure that everything was exactly as how it should be. And the old man was the same. He'd give us jobs to do, and if it wasn't fucking correct, you'd know about it. Everything had to be fucking perfect. It literally was like an army camp where the sergeant major would come round with his fucking square and his ruler and be measuring your folded blankets on the bed. And if they were out by a fucking millimetre, I'd throw them all off the fucking bed, tell you to do it again. Now, why is this important? It's important, people, because if you can't apply the same rationale, the same dedication and care to your firearm, to looking after yourself, to your equipment, then you're not going to be very fucking useful in a battle, are you? If you've done guns always dirty, if you know you've not cared for your feet, then they're all going to be withered and fucking rotting and this that, and the other. You've got to have the greatest attention to detail with everything, the greatest of care. And so that's the school I went to, and being in prisons really fucking served me well. So now, and of course then I went on to be a member of the British Full Contact Karate, the strongest karate organisation in the world, Kyokushin, Japanese, fucking bare knuckle fighting. And I went on to be a black belt, and I represented Great Britain for several years. With world-class tournaments, due to the discipline, due to the dedication, and due to the fucking mettle that I had. Okay, people, so you get the picture. Now, it's about dedication. And the reason why I say this is because when I'm talking to people about reading Freud and Jung and Plato and Aristotle and Parmenides and who, people today, you know, even people that have bought my book, they say, the last time I read a book, Aaron, was fucking in 1965. It was fucking this Peter and Jane book or fucking something like this, you know. I don't know, what the fuck? I've read thousands and thousands of books, watched thousands of fucking hours on the computer, documentary. I'm the Terminator. I get it. Many people aren't like that. And most people who aren't like that, you know, invariably are not successful. So, we're all different people. But if a sergeant major said to all of the grunts, the new recruits, we're all different. Some are going to try harder, and some are not going to try very hard, and some are going to try to skive, and some are going to be dirty bastards, and this, that, and the other. If he said that, and if he made 1 fucking millimetre of room for anybody to try to get out of their duties, then it was all going to fucking fall down, wasn't it? So he doesn't make any, can you say, there's no room for error. There's absolutely zero room for error. Every motherfucker is getting over that 12-foot fucking wall. Every motherfucker is groveling on their hands and knees under that barbed wire in that fucking shit. Every motherfucker is getting up at the crack of dawn. Every motherfucker is carrying fucking 12 kilos of fucking pack on their back, and they're running 20 fucking miles. And if you fall down, you're gonna get a kick in the fucking bollocks. Because there ain't nobody that's not gonna be fucking finishing it, right? Because no cunt's carrying any fucker out in battle, right? And that's what it's about, people. But we're losing that in the world, aren't we? We're losing it in the world. And, you know, we're becoming all too liberal and all too soft. And what's it doing? It's just creating degeneracy. It's creating weakness. It's creating everything that is wrong. because there's no discipline. And it's kind of like, I can't imagine, let's say 100 years ago, when people couldn't read. Everybody that went to school had to read fucking Shakespeare and fucking Darwin and any other fucking genius and poet, Byron, this, that and the other. They had to fucking know it. And they had to learn Latin and French, you know, the very fucking least. What do we learn these days? Fuck all. People come out of these so-called education, they know nothing. Fucking idiots. So, I'm old school, people. That's why I'm pretty disciplinarian, and I'm not suffering fools, and I'm not cutting too much slack. So, there you have it.